Chosen ones, 3 proven ways to escape the darkest phase of spiritual awakening. There comes a moment in every chosen one's journey where the darkness feels unbearable. The weight of existence, the quiet suffering behind every thought, the feeling of isolation as if no one in the world could possibly understand what you're going through, it all crashes down like an unstoppable force. You question everything. Why am I here? Why is this happening to me? Am I losing my mind? And perhaps the most haunting question of them all, will I ever escape this? Spiritual awakening is often portrayed as a blissful, enlightening experience, but the truth is, before you reach the light, you must first walk through the abyss. This is the phase where many give up, where doubt creeps in like a shadowy entity whispering in your ear, telling you that you are alone, that you are broken, that this suffering has no end. But that is the great illusion. The darkest phase of spiritual awakening is not a curse, it is a test. It is the purification of your soul, the destruction of everything false, the disintegration of every illusion you once held on to. And if you endure, if you navigate these treacherous waters with wisdom, you will emerge not as the person you once were, but as something greater, something unstoppable.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
But how do you escape this darkness? How do you move beyond the suffering when every fiber of your being feels like it is being torn apart? The answer is not found in avoiding the pain, nor in resisting it, but in understanding it. You see, suffering is not random, it is a teacher. It is revealing something to you, something you have ignored for too long. So, let us begin. Let us dive deep into 3 proven ways to escape the darkest phase of spiritual awakening. These are not theories. These are not abstract philosophies. These are battle-tested truths, forged in the fire of experience, designed to guide you through the very depths of your soul. The first truth you must understand is this: your suffering is not personal. This may sound counterintuitive. After all, you can feel it. It is as real as the air you breathe, as the blood that flows through your veins. But here is the secret. The suffering you are experiencing is not just yours. It is ancient. It is collective. It is the pain of generations, the weight of humanity's unconsciousness, a storm that has been passed down from soul to soul, waiting for someone strong enough to face it. And you, my friend, have been chosen, not by accident, not by mistake, but because you are capable of transmuting it. Think about this deeply. What if your suffering was never about you? What if it was never a punishment, but rather a calling? What if the pain you feel is not something to escape from, but something to transform? When you stop seeing your suffering as personal, you take away its power. You begin to see it as energy, raw, untamed energy that can be reshaped, redirected, alchemized into something new. This is the first step. You must detach yourself from the illusion that this pain is uniquely yours. It is not. It is the weight of an unconscious world, and you are the one strong enough to carry it and change it. The second truth is this: you must surrender completely. This is the hardest lesson, the one that the mind resists the most. We are conditioned to fight, to resist, to struggle against the darkness. But here is the paradox: what you resist persists. The more you fight your suffering, the stronger it becomes. It feeds on your resistance, growing like a shadow that looms over your soul. But when you surrender, something miraculous happens. The suffering loses its grip. The darkness no longer controls you. You become an observer, watching the storm rather than being consumed by it. But what does it truly mean to surrender? It is not about giving up. It is not about becoming passive. Surrender is the highest form of strength. It is the realization that you do not need to control everything, that you do not need to have all the answers, that you do not need to fight your way out of this. Instead, you allow yourself to feel everything fully. You let the pain wash over you like a wave, knowing that it cannot break you. You accept it not as an enemy, but as a guide. You say to the universe, I trust you. I trust this process. I release my need to control. And in that moment, the suffering begins to dissolve. The third and final truth is this: you must find meaning in your suffering. This is the ultimate key. Pain without meaning is unbearable. It feels like an endless void, a cruel joke played by the universe. But pain with meaning, that is transformation. That is rebirth. Every great soul throughout history has walked through the fire of suffering. Every enlightened being has faced their own darkness. And every chosen one has had to endure a period where they felt completely lost, completely abandoned. But they made it through because they found meaning in their suffering. So I ask you, what if this pain is shaping you into something extraordinary? What if every tear you have shed, every sleepless night, every moment of despair is preparing you for something greater than you can even imagine? What if your suffering is not a curse, but a sacred initiation? When you shift your perspective in this way, everything changes. The darkness no longer feels like an endless pit, it becomes a doorway and a passage, a rite of passage that only the strongest souls can endure. Take a moment to reflect. Look back on your life. Has there ever been a moment of suffering that did not, in some way, lead to growth? Have you not already survived things you once thought would destroy you? And if you have made it this far, if you are still here, still searching, still fighting, does that not mean you are destined for something greater? This is the path of the chosen ones. It is not easy. It is not meant to be. But it is necessary. You were not sent here to live an ordinary life. You were not sent here to remain asleep, numb, unconscious. You were sent here to awaken, to break free, to rise above the illusions that keep most people trapped. And yes, the journey is brutal. Yes, the darkness is overwhelming. But you must remember this: it is temporary. The suffering will not last forever. It is only a phase, a passage, a transformation. And if you endure, if you trust, if you find meaning in the pain, you will emerge stronger than you ever imagined. Now, I ask you, are you ready to embrace your suffering as your greatest teacher? Are you ready to see it not as an enemy, but as the fire that will forge you into something unbreakable? Because the truth is, the darkest phase of spiritual awakening is not a punishment, it is an initiation. And only those who face it with courage will transcend it. The hidden power of letting go, why surrender is the greatest strength of all. There is a profound secret hidden in the depths of suffering, a truth so simple yet so powerful that most overlook it completely. It is this: the more you try to escape your pain, the more it consumes you. The more you resist, the deeper it sinks into your soul. But when you surrender, when you truly let go, everything begins to change. The suffering that once felt unbearable begins to loosen its grip. The darkness that once seemed endless starts to fade. And what remains is something pure, something unshakable, something eternal. But let's be honest, surrender is terrifying. It feels like stepping off a cliff into the unknown, like letting yourself fall with no guarantee that you will land safely. And the mind fights against it with everything it has. It tells you that if you let go, you will lose control. That if you stop resisting, you will be consumed by the very pain you are trying to escape. But this is the great illusion. You were never in control to begin with. The suffering was never something you could fight your way out of. It was not meant to be conquered, it was meant to be experienced, fully, deeply, completely. Think about it. Every great transformation in life comes not from force, but from surrender. The caterpillar does not fight its way into becoming a butterfly, it dissolves into nothingness, trusting the process completely. The river does not force its way to the ocean, it surrenders to the flow, allowing itself to be carried. And you, in your darkest moments, are being asked to do the same. But you are being asked to stop fighting, to stop resisting, to stop clinging to the illusion of control. You are being asked to trust. But what does it truly mean to let go? It means accepting reality exactly as it is, without trying to change it, without wishing it were different. It means embracing every emotion, every thought, every painful experience without judgment. It means standing in the middle of the storm and saying, I do not need to fight this. I do not need to run from this. I allow it to be. And in that moment, the suffering loses its power. It no longer defines you. It no longer controls you. It simply is. This is the paradox of surrender. The moment you stop trying to escape the pain, it begins to dissolve. The moment you stop running, the fear loses its grip, because suffering is not meant to destroy you. It is meant to break open the walls you have built around your heart, to shatter the illusions that keep you trapped, to strip away everything false until only the truth remains. And the truth is this: you are not your suffering. You are not your pain. You are something far greater, far vaster, far more powerful than you have ever imagined. There is an ancient wisdom that says, what you cling to, you lose. This is the essence of surrender. When you hold on to something too tightly, whether it is a belief, an identity, a past wound, you become trapped by it. It defines you. It limits you. But when you let go, when you release your grip, you become free. And in that freedom you discover something extraordinary. You were never broken. You were never lost. You were simply holding on to things that no longer served you. So I ask you, what are you still clinging to? What pain, what fear, what belief is keeping you trapped in suffering? What would happen if, just for a moment, you allowed yourself to let go? Not in theory, not as an idea, but truly, deeply, completely. What if you stopped fighting the darkness and simply allowed it to be? What if you trusted that this pain, this chaos, this uncertainty is not the end, but the beginning? Because here is the truth: the moment you surrender, you awaken. The moment you stop resisting, you step into a power greater than anything your mind can comprehend. It is the power of presence, of acceptance, of complete trust in the unfolding of your journey. And when you reach this state, when you truly let go, you will see what has been waiting for you all along. Not suffering, not despair, but freedom. The alchemy of pain, how to transform suffering into your greatest power. Pain is not the enemy. This is the hardest truth to accept, but once you do, everything changes. You see, most people spend their entire lives running from suffering, avoiding discomfort, numbing themselves to the depth of their own existence. But the chosen ones, the ones who awaken, do something different. They do not run. They do not resist. They take their suffering and transform it into power, into wisdom, into something sacred. This is the secret of all great souls, all enlightened beings, all those who have transcended the illusions of this world. They have mastered the alchemy of pain. They have learned how to take the very thing that was meant to break them and turn it into the very thing that sets them free. And you, too, have this ability. But first, you must understand the nature of suffering itself. Suffering is not random. It is not meaningless. It is not some cruel punishment handed down by the universe. Suffering is a doorway. It is a message. It is life's way of showing you where you are still bound, where you are still asleep, where you are still holding on to illusions that no longer serve you. Every pain you experience is an invitation to go deeper, to see more clearly, to awaken to a greater truth. But most people do not accept this invitation. They see suffering as something to be avoided, something to escape from as quickly as possible. And in doing so, they miss the opportunity for transformation. But you are different. If you have made it this far, if you are still listening, then you already feel it. You know that there is something deeper happening, something beyond the surface of your pain. You are beginning to see that your suffering is not here to destroy you, but to awaken you. And once you understand this, you can begin the process of alchemy. So how do you transform suffering into power? How do you take the very thing that has weighed you down and turn it into the force that lifts you up? The answer lies in presence, pure, unwavering presence. But you must learn to sit with your pain, not as a victim, not as someone who is being punished, but as an alchemist, as a master, as one who understands that within this suffering lies a secret power waiting to be unlocked. Close your eyes for a moment. Feel whatever pain is within you. Do not analyze it. Do not try to fix it. Just feel it. Let it be there, fully, without resistance. Notice how the mind wants to escape, how it wants to distract, how it wants to turn this pain into a story. But do not follow the mind. Stay with the feeling itself. Let it move through you like a wave. Watch it without judgment, without attachment. And now, ask yourself, what is this pain teaching me? What is it revealing? What truth is hidden within it? Because there is always a truth buried within suffering. Sometimes it is the realization that you have been living out of alignment with your true self. Sometimes it is the understanding that you have been holding on to something that no longer serves you. Sometimes it is simply the awareness that you have been avoiding a part of yourself that needs to be seen, loved, embraced. But whatever the truth may be, it is always there. And the moment you see it, the moment you allow yourself to fully experience the pain without resistance, it begins to transform. This is the alchemy of pain. It is not about escaping suffering. It is about transmuting it, turning it into wisdom, into strength, into something that expands your consciousness rather than contracts it. And once you master this, once you learn to embrace suffering as a teacher rather than an enemy, you become unstoppable. Nothing can break you, because you no longer fear pain. Nothing can control you, because you have learned how to turn even the darkest moments into fuel for your awakening. So I ask you, what pain are you still running from? What would happen if, instead of resisting it, you met it head-on, with open arms, with the understanding that it is here to serve you, not destroy you? What if the very thing you have been avoiding is the key to your greatest transformation? Because the truth is, every great soul has walked through the fire of suffering. Every enlightened being has faced their own darkness, and every chosen one has learned that the only way out is through. But those who make it through, those who embrace the suffering and allow it to shape them rather than break them, emerge with something unshakable. They emerge with a power that no external force can take away. They emerge free. And that is what you are here for. Not to escape, not to numb, not to avoid, but to transform, to take every pain, every wound, every struggle, and turn it into something sacred. Because that is what chosen ones do. They turn their suffering into wisdom. They turn their pain into light. They turn their past into a force that propels them into their highest destiny. And now, the only question that remains is, are you ready to embrace your pain as the catalyst for your greatest awakening? Because if you are, if you truly are, then you will never see suffering the same way again. It will no longer be your enemy. It will be your greatest ally. The final test, how to rise from the darkness and step into your true power. There comes a moment in every chosen one's journey when the suffering no longer consumes them, when the darkness no longer defines them. But before they reach this point, they must face one final test. A moment where everything collapses. A moment where they are stripped of every illusion, every false identity, every last piece of the person they once believed themselves to be. This is the moment of rebirth. And it is the most terrifying, yet the most necessary, part of the awakening. You see, many people believe that spiritual awakening is about gaining something more knowledge, more peace, more power. But the truth is, awakening is not an act of gaining. It is an act of losing. Losing everything that is not real. Losing everything that is not you. And this is why the final test is so difficult. Because it demands that you let go of everything you once clung to. It demands that you stand in the emptiness, in the nothingness, and trust that something greater will emerge. Most people do not pass this test. They reach the edge of transformation, but they turn back. They cling to their old beliefs, their old fears, their old pain because it is familiar, because it is safe. But the chosen ones, the ones who truly awaken, do not turn back. They step forward into the unknown, into the void, into the space where everything they once were is stripped away. And in doing so, they discover something extraordinary. They discover their true power. But what is this power? It is not control. It is not dominance. It is not about bending the world to your will. True power is the ability to stand in absolute uncertainty and feel no fear. It is the ability to lose everything and still know that you are whole. It is the ability to walk through the fire of suffering and emerge untouched, unshaken, unbreakable. And this is the moment you are standing in now. You have been tested. You have been broken open. You have faced your suffering, sat with it, allowed it to move through you. And now you are being asked to take the final step, to step into the unknown without hesitation, without resistance, to release every last attachment to who you thought you were, because who you thought you were was never real. It was just a story, just a collection of beliefs and fears and illusions. And now you are ready to step beyond the story. But this step cannot be forced. It cannot be faked. It must come from true surrender, from the deepest knowing that you are ready to release everything that no longer serves you, that you are ready to trust the process completely, that you are ready to let yourself be reborn. So I ask you, are you ready to let go of the final pieces of your old self? Are you ready to step into the unknown without fear, without hesitation? Are you ready to stop searching, stop fighting, stop resisting, and simply allow yourself to become what you were always meant to be? Because if you are, then the illusion of suffering will dissolve. Not because life will suddenly become easy, not because pain will never touch you again, but because you will see through it. You will know that nothing can ever truly harm you. That no experience, no loss, no darkness can ever take away what you truly are. And that is your true power. Not the ability to control the world, but the ability to stand in the chaos and remain unshaken. The ability to lose everything and still be whole. The ability to walk through the darkness and not be consumed by it, but to transform it, to turn it into wisdom, into strength, into something sacred. This is the path of the chosen ones. It is not an easy path. It was never meant to be. But it is the only path that leads to true freedom. And now you stand at the threshold. The past behind you, the unknown before you. There is nothing left to do, nothing left to fix, nothing left to fight. There is only one thing left: to step forward, to surrender fully, to rise. So rise. Rise from the ashes of who you once were. Rise beyond the suffering, beyond the fear, beyond the illusions that have kept you small. Step into your power, not as something you must attain, but as something you have always been. You are ready. You always have been. Now go. Live not as the person you were, but as the being you were always meant to be. Free. Unshakable. Infinite. The final test is over. It is time to awaken,